What's up, Bills fans? Another a good day for the Bills, but just the last couple of days, swallow back because it's just unbelievable news and movement in the NFL. I mean, Peyton Manning, a guy going to Denver, that's huge news. Just because he's still in the AFC, and they do play New England next year, so that does affect the Bills in my opinion, and just affects the rest of the conference. Also, the whole Tebow debacle in terms of the trade, because if he goes to the Jets, it creates the most Jekyll and Hyde team in the world, where they've had a culture of taking on guys that are just rogue characters that nobody else wants, similar to the '70s Raiders, minus the you know Super Bowl, if you will, or Super Bowls. '70s Raiders, I hope I said. And then the trade is null and void as of right now. I don't know if it'll still go through. Um, Sean Payton, Greg Williams, the Joe Vitt, who's a coach, Greg Williams, former Bills coach. Uh, just unbelievable, to have a coach who's suspended for a whole year. Another coach is suspended indefinitely. But obviously, as it pertains to us, the news of Mark Anderson signing with the Bills, and this is a signing that we would have thought maybe a week ago would have been like, okay, this is the Bills' signature signing. We're happy we didn't get Mario Williams, but we got Mark Anderson. But the fact is, we got both of these guys, and that to me is vastly significant, because it tells me that they were watching the games, they heard the hue and the cry from the fans. They weren't going to just go into the season again and say, well, we're going to wait. We're going to just wait and see if Merriman can stay healthy and get back to his '07 form, where, unfortunately, the guy has all the ability, but just can't stay healthy. And you saw the buzz that he created in the preseason when he was sacking the quarterback in the Bears game. He was just looked explosive. He made an explosive tackle in the backfield on Javad Best in the preseason against the Lions. It just, he has that energy and that fire. And in contrast with other Bills defenders, it was just, you felt that buzz and that energy. And they want that, but they're not going to sit around and wait for that to happen. Now, if he makes the roster and shows that he's healthy and passes a physical, great. But they're not totally reliant on him returning to that form of 4.5, 5 seasons ago, because it just hasn't happened. They're not going to sit around and wait for Chris Kelsay to turn into Jared Allen. It's just not going to happen. And in Mark Anderson, in a limited role, has double the sacks that Kelsey has as a season high. So I mean, they're obviously, when Dave Wannstedt sits back and watches this defense, he says, how does it become successful? We have what we need inside. We need something off the edges that are going to make quarterbacks move around. We have the two guys that we need to push the pocket. I mean, how happy does Kyle Williams have to be? I mean, or the abuse that Darius took at the second half of last season, because he was the only guy on the Bills' defensive line to have any kind of push, or, frankly, any kind of higher upper-level talent. I mean, but Kyle Williams has to be ecstatic, because playing opposite guys like, Stroud and Spencer Johnson, and the Ron Edwards of the world, Dwan Edwards of the world. You hear Schobel might be coming back. I mean, and you kind of laugh at that now, Bills fans, but you just kind of get the feel that a Jerron era, John Guy, the Modrak, they would have thrown their arms open to a return of Schobel. Our big news would have been like, oh, well, we let Stevie Johnson go, but we re-signed Derek Hagan and Ruvell Martin. We're looking at we didn't get Mark Anderson or Mario Williams, but we signed a Larry triplet. It would have been something like that. But Brian Scott is also back in the fold with the Bills, which is kind of interesting because he played a lot of sub package stuff for them as like an outside linebacker, kind of a not a nickel back, but sort of a kind of a rover, if you will. If any of you guys ever played college or high school football, it's kind of a safety slash linebacker position, which is kind of what he does and has done for the Bills for a while. And then returning to a 4-3, I think benefits everybody on the defense. But it's just been really encouraging to see. Now, it even almost guarantees, I want to say almost, but you never know, that they go offense in the first round, 10th. It looks like that's going to be the play. Possibly a wide receiver, possibly an offensive tackle, but you never know. It's just, but the sense that I get, I think it's going to be a skill position player because they've said repeatedly, they do like their receivers, but they're always looking to add people. So, I mean, obviously, if Fitz is in the room and there's a chance to get a Michael Floyd, they're going to, I think they pounce all over that guy. I mean, he looks NFL ready. He's got the body. He's physical. He can get deep if he needs to. I mean, obviously a smart guy going to Notre Dame. So, maybe a Riley Reef and, those Iowa linemen minus a guy like Robert Gallery have always seemed to pan out. The Balagas of the world, guys like that. You never know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this pick now. Do they trade back? Do they add another pass rusher in the early second? It's very, very interesting where they're going to use this pick, the first two more specifically than anything, because guys like Merriman, guys like Kelsey, they're not going to sit around and wait for Alex Carrington to develop into the next brute. They're just not, and that's a good thing to see. I hope that a guy like that does pan out for them. That's one less guy that they drafted that they have to get rid of. I mean, with Kelsey or Merriman, you have reasons. There's guys that are starting to look like they look breaking down a little bit, have big contracts attached to their names. A guy with bad injury history. So, I mean, I'm encouraged by it. I want to see where they go with the rest of this defense. I think they're going to want to add linebackers, obviously, that are more comfortable in a 4-3 defense. That they, again, once that said, we want our ends to be rushers. They seem to have the ends now, and then they want linebackers that can fly. And I think they have to add in that area, and we'll see what they do. But again, a great time to be a Bills fan. This is what keeps us coming back, and we know that. At the end of a season like that, as the good start, reminiscent of 08, it's just, or in the push in 04, it's dejecting. But then they start making these moves like this, and unlike in seasons past, these are pretty significant moves. Probably the most significant since Bryce Paup, maybe Takeo Spikes. So. It wasn't. I mean, I remember a big move that happened along with the Bryce Paup move. People don't really talk about it as much. Was they added Ted Washington to that group, and that was a huge, huge signing because if you remember, there was never that huge nose tackle in the middle of the 3-4, and the Bills kind of changed the trend. There was the Steelers had Joel Steed at the time. There wasn't many other 3-4 teams in the league that had that, and the Bills kind of, started that. But hopefully, all these moves pay off and at least get into the playoffs via wild card or just, do something that is significant late in the season as opposed to just starting off hot and then fading away. Sorry for a long-winded video. We're about 9.5 minutes here. I want to thank the Bills fans for commenting, posting, and watching. I appreciate it. But again, another big day for Bills fans. Solid re-signings of solid guys that preach that all-in mentality, good locker room guys, and then the additions of guys that bring the talents that are needed, that are obviously pass rush, uh, we saw it, we know, and it's been the hue and the cry of us fans, and it's good to see that it's been addressed. I want to thank everybody for watching again and commenting, and hopefully I can get an MMA video up here soon. There's so much to talk about. I just got to find a launching point, if you will. That's pretty suitable. But thanks again, guys, and hope you have a good rest of the week.